you ready to start an online business that's fun and profitable? Welcome to the Beginner Internet Business Podcast, the weekly online show that gives you the inside scoop to making real income online. And now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Taylor and Russell Portwood.
Well, welcome to the BIB Podcast. This is episode 219. This week's episode is brought to you by TechNode 24/7 PC monitoring for both residential and commercial. You got a PC problem, you need to contact Joe and his guys over at TechNode 24/7. If you've got slow starts, shutdowns, if you've got malware, viruses, or anything like that, you really need to have a reliable service that can give you the attention that you need. And the guys over at TechNode 24/7 have a great service. It's a monthly maintenance service, so you don't have to worry about that next malware attack, that next virus, or that who knows. Russell, they offer a great service, and it really gives you peace of mind knowing that you've got guys that are checking your system out and making sure that it's clean and safe.
It's flu season, so don't let your computer get the flu or any kind of bug or any kind of nasty. Hey, Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us. See Joe and his guys over at TECHKNOW, and the number is 247.com. They will fix you up. And do it before you have a problem. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier to avoid than to fix. So check them out right now. But right now, we're going to do some fun stuff. We've got a great guest today.
Oh, yeah.
We've got some questions we're going to answer. This is going to be one of the best shows of the year. For sure.
Already, you're making that's a bold prediction, and it's just January.
How about that? Well, at least so far, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, so far, because this is the second one.
That's right. That's right. No, hopefully they're all good. We appreciate your feedback. Let us know if we're hitting the target as far as the information, But
well, we had a great
Fleischner on today, man. This guy is.
Oh yeah. Good. He's come on. This is probably his third or fourth time coming on, and every time he comes on, it's just great information. He's got a new edition. I think the third edition of his book's coming out. Post Penguin, Post Panda, giving us some advice on that with his new book. And this is not just an edition where he has added a few snippets here and there, like you see so many books. Their updates or adding a couple of pages, and then it's a brand new edition. This book is completely revamped because of all of the changes, and you're going to be able to hear Michael talk about a lot of the things that are, in some sense, Russell, it's kind of like old school, going back to the old days.
Yeah, really. It's SEO Made Simple, third edition by Michael Fleischner. And we're going to talk about some of the stuff in the book today, and a lot of this information you can put to use immediately. Mm-hmm. Of course, we do recommend you grab the book because it's like the Bible of SEO. So anyway,
fantastic reference book.
Yeah, we're going to answer a few questions, and we're going to talk to Michael, and then hopefully we'll hear from you.
Well, to start with, I want to mention we had a fantastic meetup last night here locally in Knoxville. We do, for those of you who don't know, Russell and I, we do a monthly meetup here in Knoxville. You can find it over at knoxvillemarketingmeetup.com. And we had a group last night. It was a lot of fun. We were talking about the psychology of influence and persuasion. Robert Cialdini's book, and how to use those principles for marketing your business, whether it be online or offline. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun meeting people and just getting to know some new attendees there, and it's always fun when you get to talk about this stuff and kind of share ideas. And I think that anybody who's on who's listening to our show could benefit from doing a meetup. In addition to whatever your niche is, you could create a local community around your niche, and we found the benefits, and we're going to talk about this with Michael, even the benefits of having a meetup, given all of the new updates and the new changes with Google, how much they're giving so much preference to social media, social interaction, involvement, community involvement. That's really boosted our traffic from that site, being right up there in the top of the search engines because of that one thing alone, is having community engagement. And that's what it's about, user experience, being that people are coming and commenting and talking and all sorts of things like that. So it's
we had a great time. If you're ever in the area, just check out the site over at Knoxville Marketing Meetup to look at scheduled meetings, and if you're in the area, come join us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Come join us. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you come if you're traveling through the area at a specific or a certain time. Sometime, give us a shout out. We may happen to be having a meetup during that week or something like that. And we've actually gotten emails from listeners who are actually from another state, and they were coming here on vacation, and they were asking when if one of our meetups would coincide with their vacation or their travel plans to Gatlinburg for the week. And so you never know. We'd love to meet you in person.
Yeah. All righty.
Well, before we get Michael on, we are going to take a few questions, as we do, and we've got a few, probably about 3 questions to take, because we have done a show earlier this week where we had taken some questions, but we'll cover these questions, and then we'll be jumping right into our interview and bringing Michael on to talk about the latest in Panda and Penguin updates. So we've got a question here from Lenny Russell, who has sent us an email a few days ago. Lenny says, great podcast and website. I have 2 questions. He says, the first question is, I have one website that is hosted by GoDaddy. If I understand correctly, I can host another separate website under my primary hosting account. Would it be wise to do this, or should I just create a whole new hosting account for my website? And that's his first question. Should he create a whole new hosting account for the second website, or should he just put a second one on the same GoDaddy hosting account? Now, a second question is, to get the site going, I will be getting some original content, but it will still be lacking. I have found a site called repost.us, which uses syndicated articles, and was hoping to fill some gaps with this info. What are your thoughts on this? Thanks in advance, Lenny. Well, let's address the first part of his question, Russell, about the deal with GoDaddy, and should he put a separate site? His separate site, should he start a different hosting account for that, or should he just put the second one on there? Now, you and I in the past, Russell, we talked about shared hosting, and the benefits to that is it's cheap. What's the downside of that?
Yeah, it's inexpensive, and the thing is, you could be on a server with a whole bunch of other people, but I think they've pretty well got it figured out now with being able to balance the server loads and all that stuff. And in this case, it really depends on what kind of account he has. We always get what are called reseller accounts.
Sure.
Which allows you to have multiple domains under a single master domain. If that's the type of account that Lenny has, I'd say, yeah, just add it on. Now, some of these add-on accounts on some of the cheaper type hosting programs, you may want to stay away from that, where they just kind of give you a subfolder and point your domain. And I'm not that familiar with GoDaddy, but I know that HostGator and virtually all of them do the basic same thing. So
right.
I would say if you've got just a minimal account, like $5 account or whatever, yeah, you want to get another one.
Yeah.
But if you have a reseller account, then it's okay to add another one in there. And if you think you're going to have more than a single domain, it just makes sense to get a reseller account anyway.
Right.
And that way you've got plenty of room for all the sites that you may want to do.
Oh, I agree. I think so. That's cheap. I think GoDaddy, some of their starting plans are what, $3 or $4 a month?
Yeah, they're not real expensive. And
I guess a lot of that would hinge on what do you expect. Now, he doesn't go into a whole lot of information about what his site's going to be, what his purpose is on those sites. It really depends on what you envision, how big you envision this site being. If you envision it being something that's going to be getting a lot of traffic, then you probably need to look at having a separate hosting plan set up for that. But it really depends on it is cheap, it's inexpensive to start out to get. You can get. I know with HostGator, one of their plans, you can get as many domains as you want under that one hosting plan. But again, you go back to shared hosting, you're sharing amongst all of those sites, bandwidth and space. And, I guess it depends on what your intentions are. If you plan on growing this into a huge type of media site that you expect a lot of people that are going to come and see it, then you need to think in terms, think ahead on that. But if you're creating just a small, niche site where you're, you're just honing in on a specific niche, and you don't expect to be inundated with a ton of traffic that's going to be, eating up a lot of your bandwidth, then maybe, it's not, depends on what you're going to do, I guess, Russell.
That's true. That's very true. If you're only going to have a couple, maybe a couple of individual accounts would be the way to go. It's hard to give a one answer fits all, because different hosting accounts meet different kinds of needs.
And we're big fans of HostGator because I've just never used GoDaddy's hosting, and I'm not sure. I guess their customer service is okay, but I've just been always a big fan of HostGator's support and their service.
Yeah, and I don't like to diss anybody. I've just never been a big fan of GoDaddy. Had some problems there. I've heard some other people that have some problems either with domain registration and or hosting. And if you host your domain there and have your hosting there and something happens that they don't like, I've heard that sometimes they'll just shut you down and then you're stuck,
Oh, great, man. That's super.
Yeah. So, a lot of guys recommend that you get your domain registration in a different place from where your hosting is, regardless of who you're using.
Yeah,
so,
I can see that. Don't want all your eggs in one basket, huh?
Yeah. So, but anyway, to answer the question, if you're just going to have a couple of sites, maybe just get a couple of individual accounts. Otherwise, take a look at a reseller site and keep it all under one roof.
Good deal. Now, what about the second part to his question on Now, I've looked at this site that he lists, repost.us, using syndicated articles, and I think you're going to find, Russell, and you can give your opinion, but based on our upcoming interview on Google's all of the changes with Google, this is not going to be a big. This is not going to be a good strategy for using syndicated articles. You need to be using original content if at all possible.
Yeah, I think so. There's, Google is still, I believe, on the duplicate content bandwagon. And that's what you're doing here, and to go to a place that has millions of free articles for your site, I'm just not sure that's going to be a great way to populate your site. I think I'd rather do it slowly over time, even if you're having them. If you go to one of the sites where people will write articles for you, I think you'd be better off just to, do one of those a week, or, however long
original
it takes
content
as you can afford it. Just, get some stuff written. I've had some great stuff written by ghostwriters before. And, I think that'd be the...
I think you face a number of problems. Like you said, duplicate content, and then most of these syndicated require you to put a link to the original source of the article. So you're, in essence, sending people away, putting a link that sends them away from your content back to the main source of the article. I see a lot of problems there, in addition to the fact that Google's not going to give your site a whole lot of love, seeing that you've got the same article on your site that's found elsewhere. So, I think you can paraphrase, you can write about certain articles, you can post comments about certain articles, but you just gotta. I don't think you're gonna have a hard time getting a good ranking listing that complete article, and a syndicated article. Maybe a good strategy would be to make some comments on an article if you want to link to it or something like that to get your own original thoughts, but. Or like you said, Russell, hire a ghostwriter, get your content out there. It's worth it. These days you can find some pretty good writers, and they're not super expensive.
Righto.
You used, I've used needanarticle.com. You've used, there's a cheap service that you've mentioned in the past, and I've forgotten.
I think it's Articles with a Z.
Yeah,
it's been a while since I've used them. Yeah.
Yep. I think that's it. Articles with a Z. Then there's Fiverr. I mean, you can you'd be surprised what you can find on Fiverr for $5 an article. You can find some very good writers that will do a 400 to 500 word article on your site. Kind of the length of a blog post on there, that will do it for $5. So consider that route as well. You certainly got to find, you've got to look for that diamond in the rough when it comes to Fiverr, but you'll find them. You'll find somebody that has some excellent reviews and that you can use. And, the only downside is you may wait, 2 or 3 days to get that article back, but, so what? You're paying $5.
Yep. Yeah, I think original content is going to be the way to go these days.
Fantastic. Okay, well let's jump on. We've got Mick's got a question. Says, I recently had my laptop returned and restored to its original settings, and have had it now for about 5 years. Windows Vista. I'm very sorry to hear that, Mick.
Ouch.
Maybe why they were restoring it to original settings. Maybe you should have had them install Windows 7 on there as well. But over the last few days, I've been reinstalling programs, but I've had so many problems playing videos. I've taken a few videos on my iPhone 4S, and I've tried to transfer videos with a lot of problems. Tried opening in Windows Media Player. It played, but no sound. Have downloaded QuickTime version 7. All I get is a huge picture. Can't seem to adjust or even locate any play settings, as the picture is so big. Would appreciate any help. Thanks in advance, Mick. Oh man. So that, that's the problem when you scrub a computer. Back to the original settings, you lose a lot of all of the video codecs and the updates and things that you have added on. So you've really got to. It's a process of just adding everything back in piece by piece, Russell.
I really don't know what to say. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, going back to Vista and trying to get things updated, I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but
don't be negative, man. Don't be negative.
Like I say, if we know the answer, we'll tell you. If we don't, we'll tell you. I don't know. Honestly, I just really don't know.
I do. Whenever you restore to factory settings, it's like wiping your computer clean, and it's back to the original, like you originally bought it out of the box. So you've got to think nothing is as you originally set or as you set it up. So you've got to go in, and one of the things that get wiped out in the process of reformatting is the codecs, the codecs the video codecs, which are important. A lot of times in a lot of the programs that you run, the video programs have to be updated with the latest codecs, and they have been some of those associations have been disrupted. So. You've got to find whatever software you're using and make sure that those are updated. I'm sure that's probably the problem. It all revolves around getting everything back to the way it was prior to you running this restoration. And
getting all the. It's really a matter of updates.
Yeah, you've got to get everything updated.
All those updates, and
because when everything goes back to factory settings, it goes back to the factory settings of the way it was, however long ago. And you say that this thing is 5 years old. So
it's a long time in computer time.
Yeah, it's a really long time. So you've basically set everything back to the factory settings 5 years ago. So you've got to update everything, because everything. I mean, like you said, Ross, the 5 years is an eternity. Computer.
Your suggestion really is not a bad idea. If the hardware will do it, I'd really recommend updating that operating system. Get away from Vista. I really would.
Yeah, I think that may help a little, because Vista is, I guess Microsoft is still giving support for Vista, but I don't know how much longer that's going to be. That's just that's kind of I think they want to ignore.
And is a not.
I think Microsoft wants to pretend that never happened, and
I don't blame them.
It might be great to eventually, or to as soon as possible, get an inexpensive copy of 7 or 8. I would recommend 7, because 8 has still got some. I'm not completely sold on 8 yet. For being trouble free. So I would start with 7.
Right. Yeah. All right. Okay. Hope that helped. Maybe not the best news in the world, but
no.
Certainly hope.
We're not all about giving positive, enlightened. We're just all about giving the facts, right? I mean,
just tell it the way it is. Can't go wrong with the truth, Let's see what Randy says. You'll probably have to do this. You're Mr. Video. I'm thinking of offering a new service for professional sounding voiceovers, and I want to sell it via a website. I was thinking of putting an autoplay video advertisement demo on the homepage, asking the viewer to get in touch for a price quote. That's a great idea. I mean, if you're selling voiceovers, right there's a great example of your voice. I think I can make the video no problem. Can anybody please recommend a good example of a video website so that I can get on with making my website? Thanks very much. So looks like he wants an example of a good video splash page. Is what it looks like. Do you have any ideas for that?
Man, I'm thinking maybe Optimize Press or something like that. You don't need to go something super super elaborate. If all you're wanting to do is capture their attention. I tell you, it's like we say time and time again, if you're trying to sell your service immediately on your website, I think there's a problem right there. I think you need to be offering something free on your site first of all, and then let people get to know you. And then people will hire you. In other words, have 5 simple ways to create professional sounding audio or something like that. If you're a voiceover guy, give something of value, give a free report away so that they can sign up for your email list, and then over time in your emails talk about your voiceover services and what you do. How you can. Basically promote your services there, build that relationship there, use the video to talk about your free report and not just your services. Maybe you can mention your your services in your video, but at the very tail end of that video, direct people. The first call to action they should do is you really want to, if you're thinking about doing a say podcast, or you're thinking about doing if you need a voiceover or anything like that, here's something that will benefit you or help you to get started with, and it's free. So instead of just hitting them with here's my service and you can call me for a quote, it might be good to build that relationship first.
That's a good idea, but you could still have a video on your.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
On your front.
I think it'd be killer.
Your splash page.
Yeah, I think so.
That would be.
I think a video is just a tremendous way to sell.
Oh yeah, it grabs people's attention, and if it's entertaining and interesting, they're going to stay there. So I think that's a great way. I'll see if I can track down some great video splash pages and post a couple on the site. So
that'd be great.
Can see some of those because there are a lot of good ones, of good ones out there, and I always like doing that myself as well, to look at something that I like, not to copy, but just to get some ideas of how you can go about designing something. It really helps to do that. So we'll track some of those down for you. Okay,
great. And as far as video goes, you can do make it short if you're going to do a video. If you're going to run it, I don't know if I would necessarily. I'm not sure about making it autoplay on the home page. That could be, you could, some marketers do that, or some marketers do suggest, having it as soon as they come to the site, autoplay. You could maybe test it on autoplay and see. If it's a short video though, somebody, every time they do a refresh, it autoplays. That could be annoying. But if they're coming to the site the first time, you want it to autoplay, it may not be a bad idea to just test that out to see. Make your video simple, short. You could do a talking video with you in front of a microphone. You could mix in some animation or whatever. There's all sorts of different ways to do that. I think probably the best way is if you're a DJ, or if you're a former DJ, or you're doing voiceovers, do a video of you in front of your microphone just talking about what you do, what you offer, and make sure the sound quality on the video sounds as good as the voiceover would be. Don't make it sound like you're don't have an external mic or anything like that hooked up. Make sure the sound quality on the video is superb.
Yeah, you want it to be looking good, or you could even use something like VideoScribe to make an animated video, and then you do the voiceover during that as a good example of your voice, since you are actually selling voiceovers.
Right.
I can imagine saying something like, "Do you need a voiceover? Here's the place you need to listen to this," and go into whatever. So I see a lot of opportunities here, a lot of ways to test to see what works best.
I tell you, man, do you know of any, do you have any idea what a good, I accidentally last night, I could kick myself for this. The camcorder we used last night, because I was planning to use the swivel.
Right.
So when I put the camcorder, I had recorded video and I deleted it off the SD card so we could record.
Oh no!
And there was a video on there that I had recorded of a client of mine that was video for his website.
Oh no!
And he's one of my clients over in Nashville, and he's got he's a consultant and he does training. So I helped him do some video over at his, he's got a public rec center there he lives in Lewisburg, Tennessee. And the local rec center in Lewisburg allowed him to get some video. So when I was in Nashville this week, I went over there and we shot video of the mayor talking about promoting his his consulting and the fact that he's using the local rec center and giving him all it was a great video, and I deleted it last night. So I'm going through trying to Google to see if there's any kind of recovery tools that I can recover.
I used one not long ago. Oh man, what was that thing? And
I found one called Pareto Logic data recovery, and it sounds like it's highly recommended, but it's like $50.
Ouch.
Yeah, and I just it seems to be, but what they do is they let you scan, and it shows 3 files, which could possibly be those files that I deleted. But in order to recover them, obviously you got to enter your license.
Pay,
So I'm like, I don't want to pay $50 and this not be what
not work. Yeah.
So anyway, I looked for some free recovery tools, and I tried one that was called Recuva.com. It's a free one. It was recommended, and I ran it, and it didn't find anything. So I don't know if I'm going to have to just break down and try to buy this and just hope. Because I don't want to lose that video, but I didn't know if there was anything that you had found.
Yeah, I'll see if I can track that down. I don't remember what I used, and it was able to grab. It didn't get everything. It got 2 or 3 of the files that I was looking for. But I'll see if I can. I'll see what I can find.
Okay.
Where is that thing? Let's see what's this.
Yeah, I mean, this thing is recommended by this Pareto Logic was. Let's see. I mean, they had some good. They had some good social proof testimonials and such in there, but gosh, $50, man, that was.
Yeah, that's an ouch. There's bound to be. I'd go to CNET and see what they've got over there. There's bound to be something.
Right.
But if I can find that thing I was using, I'll pass it on to you. And they were free ones. I mean, I tried 2 of them, or maybe 3. I'm just not finding them. I will though.
Okay. Yeah, if you could today, if you can find it this morning, please send that to me. Otherwise,
okay,
I may have to shell out $50 on this, and I hate to do that.
Yeah, really. Let me see. It's been a while, but I'll check my download history and see what.
That said, we're going to get to Michael Fleischner. He is joining us. Again, the author of SEO Made Simple, the 3rd edition, and we are going to be bringing him up now. Well, one of our favorite guests is back with us, joining us this morning. Returning guest Michael Fleischner, author of SEO Made Simple, along with a number of other books, blogging Made Simple, PPC Made Simple. Michael is an expert on search engine marketing and getting traffic, and he's going to join us today to talk about the latest addition to his SEO Made Simple book. I believe it's the 3rd edition that he's coming out with. as a follow-up to the all of the latest updates with Panda and Penguin. And we are pleased to have Michael join us this morning on the show. Michael, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jonathan and Russell. Good to talk to you guys.
Yeah, glad to have you back. I always enjoy having you on because I learn so many good things.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, let's. We got a lot to cover, so maybe before we begin, for a lot of listeners out there who are new to SEO and getting started, and they're a little vague on what this whole Panda Penguin thing was. Why don't, if we can, take a little bit of time and back up a little bit, Michael, and maybe explain to them what exactly those were meant to do and what exactly those were, and what Google was doing in the process there, and then we'll get into how we can go from there.
Absolutely. And Jonathan, it's kind of funny you asked that question because that's probably one of the more frequent questions I've gotten, at least over the last few months.
Right.
What does it all mean, right? And if we keep it simple, which I like to do, and we focus on really the purpose of search engine optimization, that's kind of evolved over time, right? You guys remember when back in the day, if you wanted your website to rank well organically, there were a handful of tricks, if you will, that you could pull out of your sleeve, apply to your site, and voila, all of a sudden you were ranking really well.
Presto.
And, right, I mean, we kind of wish in some ways that it was still like that. But Google got really smart to that, and they said, wait, if people are manually manipulating search results, that kind of defeats the purpose. The goal of having a search engine like Google is to let the search engine algorithms help understand what it is that you're looking for and then return a site that meets that need. And really, Google prefers that site isn't somehow doctored to, magically do well in search results.
Right.
So what has happened over the period, I would say, of 3 years is that each year, each day, each month, Google is getting smarter and smarter about identifying sites that naturally should appear at the top of search engine results. And what they're doing to essentially improve that process is they're releasing updates to their algorithm on a pretty regular basis. And I think last year, 2012, it was really the most significant updates they made because they had already gone after some of the low-hanging fruit, and now they really trimmed some trunks off the SEO tree. And that made it, in many regards, much more difficult to, I don't want to say doctor results, but essentially fool the system, right? So, I mean, a lot of people say, well, how can I get there quickly? How can I get the #1 ranked result? And we used to have a lot of strategies that we could use to do that. And unfortunately now there are fewer strategies and strategies are changing, but that doesn't mean that people can't do well organically or trying to improve their organic results.
Right. So the whole purpose, from what I can understand, is Google, even though this seems like, for a lot of people, this seems like it was a bad thing and Google's, really cracking down on people. I think, in the light of things long term, it's the right thing and it's a good thing because they're trying to they're not trying to penalize people for just the sake of penalizing, but they're trying to reward people that put in the effort and get solid content out there that people really want to read. And so if you're doing that honestly, if you're putting the effort into it, you don't have to worry.
Right. Exactly. And I think, if you think about it, one of the less talked about updates that they made last year is penalizing exact match domain names.
Yeah.
Right. And if you think about that, you'd say, well, oh, come on, all my affiliate sites are exact match, right? Like, buymatchsticks.com or something.
Right.
And the reason they went after exact match is because I'm sure their data told them that percent of those exact match domain names were affiliate sites that had 1 or 2 pages. And of course, I'm exaggerating to make a purpose. In fact, they found that it only impacted, I think, like 0.3% of websites with exact match. So the number is small. But in our community, where we're focused on selling things online, affiliate marketing, leveraging direct traffic to generate conversions. Obviously, a larger percentage of our sites were impacted.
Yeah.
But it does speak to what you're talking about, Jonathan, that the majority of those sites didn't really have quality content. They were more like sales pages. And as a result, organically, Google doesn't want those pages appearing because it's going to negatively impact a browser's web experience.
So the bottom line really is that Google wants to do their job well, and that is deliver the things that people are searching for. And so it's our job as marketers to provide the information and the good content that people want, and if people like it, Google likes it. Is that kind of the general idea?
Yeah, absolutely, Russell. And that speaks to really the bigger idea around Penguin, which is to evaluate just how truly valuable people find different content. So you might be asking, well, how can Google know if I read something, if it's meaningful to me, if it engages me? And the answer is they're looking at other things like social signals. Are you plus oneing and sharing that content?
Right.
How long are you spending on pages? Are you engaged in user-generated content after you read an article? Are you posting a comment? So all those, social signals that really didn't matter much to Google in the past are now taking a front seat and are essential for sites to prove that people who visit their site are engaged, are seeing value, and are ultimately, enriched by that content.
So it's kind of a twofold thing. It's good content, but it also user experience, because you can have really great content on your site, but if you don't have a lot of activity, people sharing your stuff, that's another aspect. You've got to have people that are engaged in what you're publishing.
Absolutely. And it's intertwined, right? So like to your point, Jonathan, if someone has some really great quality content, but no one's visiting the site, and when they're there, they're not engaging or leaving social signals, is it really that great?
Yeah. Right.
Right. Yeah. So now I'm not saying I necessarily subscribe to that mantra, but that's how Google sees it.
Yeah.
So does that mean that you can't doctor the system anymore? No, not necessarily. But what it does stress is the importance of thinking about the what defines quality for your audience.
Yeah.
What will they share? What will gain their interest? What will keep them on the website or the web page?
Right.
Because now, correctly or incorrectly, that definitely has a direct impact on organic rankings.
Absolutely. And I'll give you an example of that is, Russell and I, we do a monthly meetup in our local area, which is Knoxville, Tennessee. And it's the Knoxville Marketing Meetup. Even though it's a meetup owned site, you can find it if you go to meetup.com / but Meetup allows you to use a custom domain. And in this case, we used KnoxvilleMarketingMeetup.com. It's got the Knoxville Marketing, which is a pretty highly searched term in our area. And Google, for the reason I think that you've just mentioned, Michael, they've put us at the top because at the very top of the search rankings because, we don't have a ton of content on there, but they see all of the activity going on, people leaving comments, members coming there and asking questions and leaving comments and that activity, I think, has said, wait, that's a site that looks value. It's just not some site sitting out there with Knoxville Marketing with a bunch of tips on there or some tips and that's it, and no comments or anything like that. They're looking at the activity and seeing this looks like it's a value. We're going to put it at the very top.
And that's a great example. And, I think if you look at sites like Meetup or Pinterest or really any of the large sites out there, I think, and this is just a hunch based on my, familiarity with organic search and really how Google thinks, it's quite conceivable that they are going to lessen the weight or value of some of those sites over time so that, if you think about it, how many times have we gone out, created a profile on some large authoritative site and done nothing with it?
Right.
So that allows smaller entities like a meetup group to have as much, if not more weight than a site like meetup.com because you are doing all the right things. You're publishing content, people are commenting, there's engagement, there's social signals, and that's what's giving that site so much weight and so much value. And then add on top of that kind of the local nature and aspect of it. And that's why you guys are really killing it with, a separate domain, even though you're using kind of Meetup as the engine to help you. That's great. So that's a great example.
So tell us from your, you've from the latest edition, what are some of the latest updates on, this is, I guess, now your third edition to SEO Made Simple, and obviously with these changes, what are some of the, corresponding strategies now for, in reply to some of the updates? What can users do? What can they implement in their own strategy? What do they need to change up? We just mentioned one, not using the exact search term domain anymore. That used to be a great strategy. No longer is that a strategy. It's actually a negative. So what are some things that they can start incorporating? And maybe let's start with the on-site and then move over to some of the off-site strategies. And go from there.
Okay. Well, let me begin just by saying that, I'm really, really excited about this third edition of the book. You guys know I've been doing SEO for probably over a decade now.
And I can't wait.
And as I mentioned, the changes that happened last year were just so significant that it really warranted a pretty major rework of the book. There are other people publishing, SEO 2013 and beyond type books that have really just put a new cover on an old book, and that's just not going to work anymore because the changes have been so significant. So to your specific question, Jonathan, the Penguin and Panda updates had such an impact on some of the old strategies like article marketing, like directory listings, really impacting some of the things that we just did naturally from an SEO perspective to build links to our website. And ironically, and you guys will certainly appreciate this because we've been talking about this for so long, in some ways, it's come full circle. So when we started talking a couple years ago or however long ago that was, it was really all about on-page optimization, and then it kind of migrated to off-page optimization and building links. And then it was like, 90% of SEO was really focused on off-page optimization. But I feel like it has come full circle from the standpoint that now Google is also looking at on-page optimization again in a more serious way. One of the changes as we talk about on-page optimization is the is keyword usage. It used to be that if you wanted to optimize a page for, let's say, BIB podcast, well, you'd have to have that in your metadata. You'd have to have it in your page URL. You'd have to have it in your headers and subheaders and alt images and throughout the text, and just really, really kind of cramming the page with keywords. And now Google really doesn't need to see your keyword dozens of times on a page to get the message. The algorithm is much more sophisticated, and quite honestly, they're going to penalize you if they see you what we call keyword stuffing.
Right.
So what people can do today is they can go back to the concept of LSI, latent semantic index, which means that you're not just going to use your keyword phrase, but you're going to use related keyword phrases. So, let's use BIB podcast. We could use that in the page title, the metadata, and maybe once or twice on the web page. But what we also want to do is we want to include other phrases that would help put that in context. So it might be business to business podcasts. It may be small businesses, small business radio show. Whatever those related phrases are that would help the crawlers kind of decipher what the page is about. And that's a pretty significant shift. Like I said, in the past, right, we used to stuff the pages and we didn't want to leave anything to chance.
Right.
Yeah,
and I haven't even looked at LSI in I don't know when. And so
ages,
now,
right?
So now it's time to drag that info back out. Like you say, it is a kind of a full circle thing. How about that? Wow.
Yeah. So that's really from an on-page perspective, I think the most dramatic change. Other things like page load speed are really important.
Yeah.
People should still use W3C validation. I'm sorry, did I say that right? WC3 validation.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that all the coding is correct. All those pieces are important. We could go into kind of responsive design and mobile applications and all those things, but I still feel like that is not essential yet. It's definitely getting there. I guess we'll have to wait for the 4th edition of SEO Made Simple for that. Because, there's going to have to be, things just change so quickly.
Right.
Now, off-page optimization, just to change gears a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. I'm curious about where link building is going these days.
Yeah. And you know what, Russell? I think the most significant change, which nobody really saw coming from Google's perspective, is this idea that if you have shady websites pointing to you, right? So if your link is out there on, PR0 sites, sites that aren't relevant to your content, Google is now penalizing you for that. And that is a significant change and really has had the most impact, I think, on organic rankings. And there are two aspects of that people can control, and I would encourage listeners to take a look at. The first is taking a look at anchor text.
Okay.
What Google is penalizing for today is much like I used to do when I was building links. I would drop the same keyword phrase on all of my links. And again, to keep it simple, anchor text is the text that appears that when you click it, because it's a link, will drive people to your website. And traditionally, that anchor text used to have just one keyword phrase, and I would use it over and over and over and over again. Right. So that might include like marketing expert, and it would say marketing expert, the next link on some other website, marketing expert, add another website, marketing expert. And Google got hip to the fact that people who were doing that were probably doing a lot of link building, and they were trying to, in essence, manipulate the system to
manufactured links. Yeah.
Right. And we've talked about varying anchor text, but I can honestly say up until the Penguin update, you really didn't need to vary it all that much. Today, that's different. And what they're recommending is a 70-30 split, because that's what Google sees as natural. And I talk about that in the book because there's really 4 different kinds of linking that you can do around link development. But the most important thing is really simply to vary your anchor text and use your site URL about 70% of the time and your keyword about 30% of the time. And there are different types of URLs: naked URLs, brand anchors, brand keyword, hybrid anchors, universal junk anchors. They're like click here. But if you follow that basic rule, that 70% of the time you're going to use http://www.yourwebsite.com, and then vary that. So sometimes it's www.websitename.com. Sometimes it's your websitename.com without HTTP or www. So you're varying it, but you're using that URL about 70% of the time, and then keyword anchors about 30% of the time. Then that appears to Google to be much more natural in terms of link building, and that's really going to help you out.
Wow. I tell you, that was worth the price of admission right there.
It's a significant change. And I think if people embrace it, they can understand the value of it and definitely take advantage of it. And from an off-page perspective, that's definitely one of the most significant things. And then the second piece, obviously, is penalizing you for links from shady websites.
Oh, of course.
Now, a lot of people ask me, okay, Michael, I get that, but, I've been link building for years, and I have websites that there's no contact form, there's no webmaster, and they have my link on there, and I want to get it off. What am I supposed to do? And I think after the Penguin update, Google got really smart when they got feedback from the universe and said, wow, I can understand that that's a problem. How can we help people out? And they actually introduced a process whereby you can identify sites that you essentially don't want to submit to Google, meaning when Google looks at all of your inbound links, if there are some websites that should be excluded, you can now articulate that to Google through Google Webmaster Tools, and they will discredit that link.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you recommend actually using this, the disavow tool, I think is what they call it?
That's correct.
How bad can it be? Is there any way that you can tell whether or not it's really bad enough that you need to go in and disavow some of these links? That's been my main question about this thing when it came out. Plus, you have the idea that, somebody could, a competitor could spam your site with bad links. This just seems to open up a can of worms to me.
Yeah. And you know what? I would say, as with anything, proceed with caution. You really need to know what you're doing. But to the specific point, Russell, where let's say you do have a competitor who is really spamming you with negative links, you would probably know it. You would probably see a decline in organic rankings, or if you did a simple link evaluation on your site just to look at everybody who's linking to you, you may find some that you definitely want to remove. And always the first step should be reaching out to that website and saying, please remove my link.
Okay.
More often than not, they will. I've only had a small handful of people, and I'm dealing with thousands and thousands of links. I've only had a really small handful of links that I either couldn't reach the person or they just couldn't be bothered responding to me. And in those situations, I would use the disavow link. But always the first step should be reaching out to the website owner and saying, this link isn't relevant. I've had people, after I've asked for link removal, say, well, I don't understand. Why don't you want your link on my website? And I simply say, we're just cleaning up our links, and we'd appreciate you taking it down. So that should be the first step. And then this disavow tool is really when people are in a crunch and they've tried to contact someone and they won't get back to them.
Sure.
And it's a link that's clearly inappropriate. Because you asked, how can people tell?
Right.
And there's really only 2 tools out there that I think people could use. And I think both have free trials. That's SEO Moz and Kemper, which is spelled with a C, C-E-M-P-E-R. And they have tools that essentially evaluate the health of sites that are linking to you.
Right.
And, any sites that are, PR0 and look like spam. They say if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it must be a duck.
Yeah.
And that comes to mind here.
Okay. That clears up a lot for me, and especially the hint about the tools. I was familiar with SEO Moz, but not the other ones. So I'm curious to check that out. And that's C-E-M-P-A?
P-E-R. C-E-M-P-E-R.
C-M-P-E-R. Okay.
Yeah. And really what those sites are doing, and there may be others out there, those are the ones I'm most familiar with, they are essentially evaluating websites based on numerous criteria: the content, the age, how fast they're loading, how many links are inbound to those websites, so on and so forth.
Right.
And just like SEO Moz has a trust ranking, Kemper has developed a trust ranking, and if a site clearly can't be trusted, honestly, I don't want them linking to me.
Right.
So that's something from an off-page perspective that I think is pretty important. And if you really take a look at that link profile in terms of your anchor text and get rid of any shady sites that are linking to you, that can have a dramatic impact on your organic rankings.
Right.
Again, this is really all driven from the latest Google update.
Wow.
Okay. Well, this is a lot to take in. I'm going to have to listen to this show and take some notes.
Take some notes, right?
Yeah, I should be doing that now. Wow. But I'm going to have to listen again to soak all of this in. So what is your recommendation, just a general recommendation in terms of what people should do in terms of their off-site efforts, link building and that sort of thing? What direction do we need to go in to get decent links?
Yeah, I think some of the old methods are still valuable. Forum link building, for example, if it's a relevant forum. Don't go building links on a celebrity forum if your site is about cigars. So that's important. Blogging, I think, is still a great tool, both to have your own blog as well as to be doing guest blog posts for others in your industry, even commenting on relevant blog posts with links back to your site. Social media growing in importance. Everybody should have Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, Foursquare, you name it. If there's a social media account out there, at least set up your profile and put a link back to your site. And, I think the other aspect, which again, this is all kind of coming full circle, is really producing quality content on your own site that others are going to want to link to.
Right, right. Do it the old natural way.
Yeah. I mean, it's old school, but again, that it really speaks to, I think, the core of what Google's trying to accomplish. And by having that quality content, you have to remember that not only are people going to link to it directly, but people are going to bookmark it, share it on social media, and that's really where you build links as well.
Right.
And that's really important.
All right.
So
looks like we've got our work cut out for us.
Article sites, you may just mention those. Are they? I mean, is it still I know it doesn't have the same impact as before, but is it still worth using sites like eZine and Go Articles and sites like that to get links back?
Yeah, that's a tough one, Jonathan, because I think if you're just starting out and you don't have any links to your site, it's okay to use eZine articles and Go Articles. Mm-hmm. Beyond those, I don't know if article marketing has much weight anymore.
Right.
I think article marketing, if you think about it more generally, is valuable in the sense that at its foundation, article marketing is about developing quality content and sharing that across the internet.
Right.
And I think that's still valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know that using article directories as a way to post that content is really the best way to go.
Sure.
I would recommend people reach out to bloggers and say, I've got some great quality content. I'll give you the exclusive. It'll be unique to your site. I just want to link back.
Sure.
And that's a better way to distribute that article content as opposed to the directories.
Yeah.
Ah, great idea. Great idea.
And
definitely going to have to take notes.
And my understanding, YouTube is still, as YouTube is really powerful, you certainly should be using YouTube as much as possible, because I think that video is just going to grow even more and more over time, and that YouTube gives you the opportunity to send a link, a URL back to your site. So. Is there any specific strategies that we should know about as it relates to posting videos and linking? Sending links. Do they need to be? You've got not only YouTube, but you've got a lot of other video directories out there. Vimeo, Vidler, all of those sites. Is there any specific strategies on how you should set that up, or just send links back to your site?
Yeah, they remain really quality sites to get links from, and I think that there are really two keys with that. One is being mindful and having a link back to your website, and obviously if you're going to do that in the description, you want that to be really early on in the description so it doesn't get truncated.
Right.
The other thing too is that you have to remember that YouTube has its own ranking algorithm, and it's worth. And there are a lot of gurus out there who can tell you about YouTube as a search engine and how to do really well there. But if you are building links to your website, then I would say really create a channel. Make sure you're putting targeted, focused videos in there, and make sure to use your keywords even in the dialogue of your video. It's reported that YouTube actually uses the first, I think, 20 seconds of your video dialogue to determine relevancy around particular keywords.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty sophisticated stuff. And again, this is based on, those I talk to in the industry. So who knows exactly how legitimate it is. But if you're using keywords in the title and the description, and you have your URL in the description, and you're using your keyword in the first, 10 seconds of dialogue or whatever the case might be, right, and getting comments and thumbs up and all that other stuff that's associated with social popularity, then it really becomes an asset that will absolutely help you with organic rankings.
Well, if Dragon, naturally speaking, can decipher my southern accent and put it into words, why couldn't YouTube figure that out too? And do that. This is amazing stuff.
What about social bookmarking? Is that still beneficial for you to bookmark? Some of the articles on your site or some of your blog posts and get those out to some of these social bookmarking sites?
Yeah, I think it is, Jonathan. I think just like the article marketing, you really need to stick with maybe the top 10 social bookmarking sites, Reddit and those sorts of things. The long list. I mean, you guys remember we used to submit hundreds of these things.
Yeah.
And it's just, the ones kind of in that second tier and third tier just aren't relevant anymore.
Okay. Well, I was talking about how I should be taking notes, and I'm going to have to listen to this again. But just for our listeners, I've got a whole lot better idea. Buy SEO Made Simple, 3rd edition.
Yeah.
How about that for an idea? Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm going to have it here before the day is out. That's for sure.
And you've got it. The 3rd edition is now on Kindle, and it's physical copy and the Kindle version.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Sweet.
I tell you, Michael's book. Yeah, I think I've mentioned this before, but your book, when we the first time we interviewed Michael, I guess that was around the time of your 1st edition, and I used that. I mean, that book was the only book on SEO that I had as a reference book that was on my desk because, and I'll tell you the reason is because it was simple to the point. And it wasn't filled, you get a lot of these other books that are, 300 pages of, and you have to really kind of look through and find, what you need, what you can pull from. But it was, Michael's book was a very short, concise reference book that I just kept, and I had that thing dog-eared. And I definitely intend, like Russell said, to get your latest copy because I am definitely going to be taking some notes and getting up to date on that.
That's all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Really, it's all you need. I mean, why confuse the fact when everything is so to the point and concise? Gee whiz, don't overcomplicate things. Just get the book and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just do it. And I will, going back to Michael, to one thing that you said in regards to your on-page optimization, one of the things that Google's looking at, and your coding does make a huge difference. And it reminded me when you were talking about the coding, when I was at the Traffic and Conversion Summit last weekend, one of the speakers on SEO had mentioned bad code. Google is looking at sites with lousy code or code that's where it's broken in places, and that's going to play a big a part in their in your rankings is how well your code is laid out on your site. So you definitely need to be mindful of that. And it reminded me of a friend who's got a site that still runs on front page or what Russell and I term as front plague. The old front page platform, and he's got so many pages that he's developed over time. He's got a model train site, and his business is creating model trains, but he's got just hundreds and hundreds of pages. And I had to send him a short email that last week and just say, listen, I know you don't want to hear this, but you really need to consider a long-term approach to changing your site over. So I think that's important, and I'm glad you did mention that, Michael, because that coding is a big deal. But people think that they can just get their website up and use anything to get it up there as long as they've got the right keywords. But no, it's Google likes to see clean code on there.
Yeah, and I think the W3C validator I talk about in the book, obviously, and with you guys. I mean, that's a great free tool that can help. People don't need to be programming geniuses. I mean, that's what Odesk and Elance are for. Yeah. So there's really no reason why people shouldn't have flawless code, and it does make a difference.
Yeah. And that's why I'm a huge fan of WordPress because
absolutely,
you really don't have to worry, using WordPress most of the time, except, unless you're downloading a theme that you have no idea who the developer is and what they put together. But I'm a huge fan for the most part of WordPress and specifically some themes put out by Studio Press are always excellent. But yeah, it's so interesting. Everything, the dynamic of how things are shifting, and you've really got to stay on top of it. It's not something that you can sit and forget about it. Over time, you've really got to stay on top of things, and I'm really excited. I think you're doing a wonderful job, Michael, of keeping on top of that with updating your book. I know so many, like you mentioned earlier, so many authors, they go through and they'll pull a few things out and add a few things to their book, and from what I can tell here, you've really gone through and just made a complete update to this content. So we really do appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And you guys know me. I definitely love to keep it simple, and I hate to see people wasting their time on some of these techniques that unfortunately just are not effective anymore.
Yeah.
And we all have to kind of, educate ourselves to make sure we stay ahead of the curve. And those are the sites that are going to do well organically. And what's great is anybody can do it. It's really just a matter of sitting down and, like you guys say, just do it. And we try to make that simple for them and effective.
Very good.
Yeah, well, we sure appreciate you joining us. We always love having you on the podcast, and we always learn so much good stuff. I mean, things we can take away and initiate immediately. And I can't wait to dive into the book and put this into practice.
And the best way to get your book would be over at your website or Amazon. Is that correct, Michael?
Yeah, Amazon.com. Just search on SEO. I'll be the first book there. And, really would love to hear from people with questions or comments, and, come back on if you guys have
Absolutely.
Any additional questions around SEO.
And what's the best way to contact you, per se, if any of our listeners have questions or comments and they'd like to get a hold of you? What's the best place to find you?
There are two ways that I think would be helpful to folks. The first is you could always email me at support@marketingscoop.com. And the second way is we do have a forum that focuses on SEO. It's forum.marketingscoop.com, or you can just Google Scoop Forum, and you'll see us at the top of the rankings. And, if you have questions, there's a great community there. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Outstanding. Once again, as always, it's been a pleasure. Michael, thank you so much, and we do look forward to having you on again. It's always a pleasure to have you join us. We always, Russell and I always pick up, as Russell said, we always gain something from that, and I know our listeners gain a tremendous amount from it, and that's what it's about.
Likewise, and I thank you both.
Thanks, Michael.
Have a great weekend.
All right, talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now.
Well, that was a fantastic, another fantastic interview with Michael Fleischner. He just always a pleasure having him on the show. Russell, always you always get some takeaways there. And
he's such a likable guy, and he knows his stuff. I mean, when it comes to SEO, this is the guy. And you could go into all sorts of minute detail about coding and whatnot, but I mean, these are things that you can put into practice and hit 99% of everything you need to know to get good rankings. Right. You really need to get his book. Yeah, that's the bottom line. Yep. And put it into practice. You will be glad you did. And I just appreciate Michael so much for joining us and sharing some of this stuff. It's dynamite. We really appreciate it.
And again, you can get the Kindle version or the physical version. You can get it on Amazon. Great. Just a great reference book. Everybody should have it. If you're doing your own website building, you really need to, especially with the changes. Things have completely changed, as Michael mentioned. A lot of things are going back to the old way. But you need to have a good understanding, and Michael covers all of that. And you can kind of have the latest updates, in that book to be able to know exactly what to do in setting up your site. So, so grab a copy of the book. Again, great having him on, Russell. It's been a lot of fun on the show today.
It has been, yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us. We look forward to Seeing you right here again next week. Keep those cards and letters coming in, and we just appreciate you, our listeners, and if there's anything we can do for you, just let us know.
Absolutely. Have a great week, everyone, and God bless.